I cannot believe I'm about to expose how much of a weeb I am. I've been reading manga for 11 years now. I started when I was 10 and I just turned 21, so happy birthday to me, I guess. And so I thought I'd just do a video talking about all the different series that I have, kind of a little bit about each one, just sharing my collection with all of you. And you know, I've actually been watching anime for like even longer than that. Like I think I've been watching anime for like literally 15 years because the first time I ever saw anime I was like 6 years old. But that's for a different video. Today we are talking about manga. So you can never see it when I'm filming, but I actually have a bookshelf up there, back there, and over there that is pretty much full of like 90% manga and then a couple like regular books mixed in. And I guess I wanted to talk about it because it's just such like a huge like hobby and interest that I've had for this long in my life. I mean, I've literally been reading manga for half of my life. And so the other night I actually counted how many volumes that I have and kind of estimated the cost of how much I've spent on them over the years. And I was able to count 338 volumes that I could find, which that number even surprised me because I mean, I've never actually counted them before. And you know, assuming that each one is about $10, even though I know like I've gotten them for as low as $5 and for as much as like 15 or maybe even 20. But just to make things easier, I assumed each volume was about $10, so 338 times 10 brings me to $3,380. And if you round up, that is about $4,000, which is about $365 each year. I mean, I always complain how like I never have any money and I'm like, oh, I don't even know what it's like to hold $1,000 in my hand, but every single day I am surrounded by what is roughly $4,000. But there's worse things I could be spending my money on, I guess. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get right into it. So the first series that I have, and actually the first series that I ever got, was Fruits Basket. And right now with the kind of reboot slash resurgence of the anime happening, I definitely would recommend the manga. I mean, the style is a little bit outdated in today's terms, but I still think it's a great story, and especially if you are a fan of the anime and watching the reboot of the anime, which is continuing on past where the original first season ended, I would definitely recommend checking it out. For a while, I think you might still be able to find them, but I know Tokyo Pop, which I got them from, and I think they are still technically like published under or whatever. For a little while they had like gone out of business. Like I remember that was a huge thing back when I was younger because I had a bunch of series from Tokyo Pop and I was like, oh my god, they're going out of business. I actually have I believe there are 23 volumes of that series, and then I have a bonus like volume of like stuff talking about the series, which I was really happy when I found that like a long time ago. Like I'm actually in the middle of rereading that series right now just because of like the anime being rebooted and whatnot. I remember loving it back when I read it when I was like literally 10 years old. So yeah, that's the first series that I have. It's always gonna hold a special place in my heart. It has a very nostalgic factor about it, so that's why like it still holds such a special place in my heart. Next up on my shelf is a series called Alice in the Country of Hearts. Now this is another one that I read like a long time ago, so I don't remember much about it. I just remember it was like an Alice in Wonderland spin-off, AU, whatever you want to call it. And for some reason, like I feel like I have a lot of Alice in Wonderland like spin-off things. I don't know why that's such like a popular thing in manga. And I mean, Alice in Wonderland is already kind of crazy and out there, so I think by putting like a more anime manga twist on it is just gonna make it even more crazy. I remember really liking the art style of that one, and that's another thing I feel like I'll just say right off the bat, there are some series I purely picked up and read because of the art style, and I do the same thing when I watch anime too. Like I have definitely watched entire anime series just because I like the way that it looks and not even because I necessarily care about the story. Next is Yosuba, and I love that series and I have 10 volumes of it. I think that there might be more than 10, but I'm not entirely sure because I could only find 10. Again, another series I read a long time ago. A lot of the series up on my shelves are ones that I've either completed or read a really long time ago, but it was just super cute. It just is about like this little girl and all of the shenanigans that she gets into, and that's another one I would definitely recommend if you are looking for something just fun and lighthearted. Alright, first series on my shelf, which I did not complete and barely even started, is Code Geass. I think the only reason that I picked up those 2 volumes that I have is because like it was like a buy one get one free, or like they were on sale, and it's not necessarily that I didn't like it, because honestly, like if I could have found them, I definitely would have given that series a try. But I think for some reason, back when I was really only finding manga at bookstores and not really like utilizing Amazon very much, I could only find 2 volumes, so it's like, well, if they're not carrying the other ones in the store, I guess I'll never know what happens. But I feel like Code Geass is a very popular series. I mean, it had an anime adaptation, which like I feel like most people have seen, and I actually think I started watching it before I got the manga, which is what made me get the manga, but I never finished watching it. So sorry Code Geass fans, but that's all I got. And then right next to that we have Vampire Knight, which again I didn't finish, and a part of me like kind of wants to finish, but also part of me knows that like I just, at the end of the day, I just don't really care that much. It was your kind of standard like romance vampire type of high school story. But I remember, I think I definitely started reading that in like the 6th grade because I had a friend who actually got me into it. And for some reason, even though I don't have all the volumes, I did just go and pick up the like little bonus content manga of that, which honestly, even if I don't finish the series, I just like love bonus content things. Like for instance, I know like in the Fruits Basket one that I have, like there's literally like Fruits Basket stickers that I refuse to use or take out of that book because like even though I never look in that book, I just am like, no, it needs to stay there. It needs to stay in like perfect condition. Like I am one of those people where I'm like, I have no intention of ever selling any of the series that I have, even if like I wasn't necessarily like a big fan of them or anything. I just like, it's part of my collection and getting rid of it just like feels wrong to me, but I'm like, no, it all has to stay in perfect condition. Even if they give me like posters or stickers or any of that, like it has to stay in there, and I guess I can't let myself enjoy it. Kind of got on a tangent there, but up next we have one of the other Alice in Wonderland type spin-off series, which this one was called Alice in the Country of Clover, and I think the story was by the same person, and obviously you're seeing on screen as I'm showing you up close what they look like, but as I'm sitting on my floor I can't read that far to see like who did the art, who did the story, but I think the story and the characters is by the same person who did The Country of Hearts, but the art was done by a different person for Country of Clover, and honestly, I definitely preferred the art from the first one more, but I didn't finish that one. I'm pretty sure there were more volumes, but I just lost interest, and again, I thought that Country of Hearts was better than Country of Clover, so I guess I didn't really feel the need to keep consuming more of it. Alright, next up, this one technically like isn't a manga, but I count it up there because I think it was just like marketed that way. When I got it, at least it was in the same section. It is Maximum Ride, which is actually a book series by James Patterson, which I have like I think the last 3. I forget how many there were originally, but that was a series that like I read in like the 5th grade, like the actual like book series. And then when they announced like, oh, a graphic novel, like it's getting a graphic novel, which at the time a lot of I think James Patterson's books were all of a sudden getting like all these graphic novels at the same time. When I was a kid, I was like a huge fan of Maximum Ride, and looking back, like I definitely don't think if I were to read Maximum Ride now it would like hold up at all, but I still enjoyed seeing it in the graphic novel version because I feel like, I mean, if you've ever seen the Maximum Ride movie, like we don't talk about that, but I'm like, yikes, like that was bad. Like even just the way that the characters look, like not how I imagined them at all, but I feel like the way that they were presented in the graphic novel was like very close to how I imagined them when I was reading the book. So I think it just, they never finished it. It maybe wasn't popular enough and they stopped making them, but I really liked the art style in that, and I did enjoy seeing it presented in graphic novel form. So yeah, I only have 9 volumes of that. I don't think there are more than 9 volumes, but honestly, if they kept making them, like even now, I would still read them. Alright, now this next one is actually one that like I said, Fruits Basket was the first series that I ever read, but it was actually Fruits Basket and Soul Eater. I got the first volumes of those like at the same time. I got them for my 10th birthday. So Soul Eater is another series that I hold so near and dear to my heart. Like that anime, I actually have that whole entire show on DVD, and like I've watched it like so many times. Like that was one of the first anime series I watched too, because it was basically the first anime that I watched all the way through was actually Tokyo Mew Mew when I was like 8 years old, and then it was Fruits Basket and Soul Eater, and then from there I forget. Yeah, Soul Eater, I have all 25 volumes of that, and I love that series so much. There's a lot of references throughout to different like American horror movies and stuff like that, but I just think the concept of like people turning into weapons, like that's something that I had never heard of before, and it made me such a huge fan of Atsushi Okubo. Then right next to Soul Eater we have a very different series by contrast. It's called The Stellar Six. I only have 3 volumes of this, but I think there were actually 6 volumes, but maybe either the rest of them weren't translated, or I could never find them, and I searched like so many places on the internet trying to find these volumes because it was such a cute series. Like it was just about like this group of 6 friends who like live in this small town, and I think they all work in this market together, and I think they were either about to like graduate high school or graduate middle school, I forget, but like it was like a coming of age type of story. Like they were reaching the end in a certain phase in their life, and it was kind of about how like they were afraid, like, oh, are we all gonna stay friends, like what's gonna happen? But it was just, I just love that series so much. It was just so wholesome, and if anyone knows where I can find the rest of the volumes, please let me know, because I mean that's a series that I would, and I probably will, end up rereading even though I only had the first 3 volumes, because it was such a feel-good series. Alright, next up we have Black Butler. I'm just gonna say this on record, I hated the first 2 seasons of that anime. Absolutely hated it, like horrendous. Like I get that they didn't have as much source material to go off of in the beginning, but if they would have just followed the manga, it would have turned out so much better than like whatever the hell it was that we got. Like Alois or whatever, he doesn't even like exist in the manga. But anyway, that's an issue for another day. I have currently, I believe there are 28 volumes of this manga, and someone's just decided to start weed whacking outside my window. That's great. But I'm caught up in terms of what has been released, even though I don't have the most recent volume. I gave in and I read it online, which I normally never do if I'm reading a series, because I do like to have the physical copy of it. But honestly, like the Black Butler manga is one of my favorite manga series that I have. Like I just think that all the different arcs that we go through are just so interesting, and it never fails to like entertain me. And even in like these most recent volumes, which spoiler alert, if you're not caught up or you don't want spoilers, mute this video or skip ahead, but I'm about to spoil some things about some of the recent volumes of the Black Butler manga. I think the arc with the whole like twin thing, at first I was kind of like rolling my eyes, like I felt like, oh, like that's a cop out, but now that it's like actually played itself out enough for me to understand and is in the direction that it's heading, I'm actually like really excited to like see what happens. But at the same time I'm kind of nervous, because I'm like, is this series coming to a close? Like it's definitely gonna be like a very bittersweet feeling for me when this series does end, because like with Soul Eater, I remember like having that last volume and being like, wow, like this is it, like this is the end. But anyway, yeah, the Black Butler manga I definitely recommend. The Book of Circus, Book of Atlantic, and Book of Murder, which I actually haven't seen Book of Murder yet, but I have seen Book of Circus and watched the Book of Atlantic movie. They are faithful adaptations to the manga. Like please, if you're going to watch the anime, only watch those. Do not bother with the first 2 seasons, because they are just like bad. Like I tried to like, just out of curiosity, like start rewatching that first season a couple of days ago, and I was like, no, like I couldn't even get through 1 episode. I was like, this is just bad. But that pretty much covers one whole shelf, my very first shelf of manga that I collected. So on to the second shelf. Starting off, we have Pandora Hearts, which I have completed. I have all 24 volumes of Pandora Hearts. Pandora Hearts is a series that I really can't tell you what it's about, because it got to a point where like, I don't know if it had just been a while since I had picked it up at the point where I was reading it, but it reached a point where like I literally had no idea what was going on. But I mean, I still enjoyed it, but like, and I have some other series that I'll mention that I'm like, yeah, eventually there just reached a point where I had no idea what was going on, but I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm still enjoying it, so I'll keep reading it. But yeah, honestly, that was one where, especially towards the end, I was pretty much reading it for the art style. And you know, it's funny when, like, with this long-running series that I have that are like 20 volumes or more, or even like some of the shorter ones I have that are like only like 14 volumes, seeing how much the art evolves from the first volume to the last one, I think is so interesting. And as someone who like also does draw, I'm like, all right, I need to like make a comic or something, because like by the time I start it and by the time I finish it, my art is gonna have improved so much. And I just love that. I love when like you look back at the first volume and at the time you're like, oh yeah, this is good, but now that you're on like volume 20 something, you're like, whoa, like their art improved so much. And like that's how I feel about Black Butler too. But yeah, Pandora Hearts was another one. Read it a long time ago. Don't really remember what it was about, and by the end I kind of had no idea what it was about. I forgot a lot about it. I probably won't reread it just because A, it's really long, and B, I already have some series that I am trying to reread that I have more like a nostalgic connection to. But it did have a period where it was really popular, and like that's another one where like I haven't seen the anime, so I don't even know. I guess there's no way they could have covered the whole thing, because I'm pretty sure that the anime was out before the manga even ended. But I know there is like a very specific Pandora Hearts fan base out there. Alright, next, I only have one volume of it, and I don't even know if there was more than one volume. It's called Witch of Artemis. I like loved this manga so much, and I wish that there was more than one, because it was just so cute. It was just another like wholesome like series about like a witch, which honestly like that's only a one-shot one, I'm pretty sure, so I could reread that, because I've reread it a couple of times, but again, like it was so long ago. I need to like refresh my memory now. But yeah, I really wanted this to be a series, and it just like wasn't, and I don't know if it just because like it didn't have enough popularity or what, but I just like happened to find it, and I remember loving it. So this next one, I literally have like no idea what it's about, because I think I only have volume like 6 or something. It's called Tagami Bachi, which I think means like the letter B. Again, I think this was a thing where I literally got it for like a couple of dollars. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll pick up this like volume of manga that I have no idea what it's about and isn't even the first volume. And I remember like back in the day, there used to be like this app, and I don't know what it was called, because like it wasn't like an official app like Funimation or Crunchyroll, but it was just like an app where you could watch, they just had different episodes of anime, and so I would kind of just like go through whatever was available, and one of them was Tagami Bachi. And I literally don't remember anything. I just remember like it being nighttime, and maybe they were in a desert and someone wearing blue and something about delivering letters, and like that's literally all that I remember. That is a series that like maybe if I went and actually found out what it was about more and did some more research on it, I would be willing to actually read and start from the beginning. But yeah, I just happen to have one random volume of that. Alright, next up, everyone's favorite magical girl fucked up horror, Madoka Magica. Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure, like I feel like there's like a ton of different, I don't know if you can call them spin-offs, but I've seen a lot of like series that are like maybe in the same universe but aren't the original like Madoka Magica. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure there's only 3 volumes of the original, which I have all 3 of. I can't remember if I watched the anime for this. I think I might have, or like seen like an OVA or something. We're still way back in the past. Like I might have been like 13 when I first read that, which again, honestly, picked it up for the art style, and then stayed for the fact that it turned into like a very twisted take on a magical girl story. And I like that it was only 3 volumes, because it didn't overstay its welcome. It wrapped up nicely, and sometimes people don't know when to end things, and I feel like that's when maybe I get confused in series, because it just keeps going on and on and on. But like Madoka Magica, 3 volumes, nice and compact, and yeah, again, that's another one with like a very big following. Alright, this next one is a Soul Eater spinoff. It's called Soul Eater Not. There's only 5 volumes of it, but it was basically just about like these 3 girls who go to the DWMA and how they form a team of 3. I think there's 2 Meisters and 1 weapon, I think. And I really like that series because it showed us more of the actual school and the classes, which in the original Soul Eater we don't really see, because it's more about like the missions and like the overarching plot with like the Kishin and all the really intense stuff. But Soul Eater Not was more of like a daily life school comedy, which I thought was really interesting, because Soul Eater has such a different darker tone to it. And then directly next to that we have number 6, which is only 9 volumes. I have all 9, and I love number 6. Like, I really wanted to read the actual like book of it, and I think somewhere online I had found someone's translation of it, and I just never finished it just because like A, I'm a really slow reader when it comes to like books, and B, I don't know, I guess it's saved so far back in my internet tabs. Wow. Really? It's like literally right outside my window. But yeah, I mean, and that's another one where I have seen the anime, and that one I remember like a lot about for some reason, even though it was so long ago, I guess just because like I did like it so much. But I know a lot of people have a problem with the ending because it ends on such like a cliffhanger-y note, but like I'm okay with endings like that because I don't think it had a bad ending. I think it had a happy ending, but it had a very like open to interpretation ending. Like, are Shion and Nezumi gonna meet again? Like, what's gonna happen after like they take down the whole government thing? Like, where do their lives go? And some people need to be kind of like told this is what happens, but I'm totally okay just like theorizing about it in my own mind. Also, like, Shion probably started my love for like white-haired anime boys. Alright, up next is actually one of my like favorite series, and I just finished rereading it. It's called Nabari no O, which means like King of the Hidden World, and it's just so good. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, there is an anime for it, which I started rewatching when I started rereading the manga, but I didn't drop it, but again, I got busy with other things. I totally want to finish rewatching it to see where it ended. But honestly, like, Yuki Kamitani's art style is to die for. Like, especially like I said, towards like the later volumes, like I just love their art style so much. I think that the characters are all really interesting. Like, there's very few characters that I don't like in that series, and again, just really nostalgic. That's one that I started reading pretty early on, and honestly I'll probably reread again someday because after rereading it, like, it still holds up for me. I cannot believe the audacity. The audacity. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Alright, next up I have Blue Exorcist, which I currently have 23 volumes of. I think that there might only be 23 currently at the time of this video coming out as far as being translated into English. And those volumes are spread out like all over the place because I have some up on the shelf, I have some on my other shelf, and then I have the most recent volume, which I just got and haven't read yet, on my other shelf. But yeah, again, been reading that series for like a really long time, and I definitely did watch the anime, but manga, in my opinion, is just like way better. It explores way more of the actual like concept that it was built under, that the anime kind of only scratched the surface of. Although I did really like the OVA, which I can't remember what it was called, but that I definitely would recommend giving a watch if you're a fan of the series. But again, like, because I've been reading this series for so long, I feel like it's like maybe coming to a close soon because like we're building up to like the final like boss battle, I feel like. And even though I haven't read the most recent volume, I know that we're going to get even closer to that, and just like the way that in the recent volumes, like, different characters have kind of switched sides, different things have played out in the plot twists and whatnot. I just think it's a really interesting series, and like I love Rin Okumura like so much. Like, I think even though like he isn't a likable guy. Like, on one hand he's like trying his best and like he really does want to do the right thing, but on the other hand he's like very like reckless and stuff. But I do think he's a good main character and I enjoy reading about his story, so yeah, read Blue Exorcist. Alright, next up is Durarara, and I don't even know what is happening in this series. I only have 10 volumes of it. I'm pretty sure there are more, but the thing that confused me about the way that manga was done, and I am aware that it was like a light novel series before, I'm pretty sure, and I think I actually have the first one of the light novels, but I honestly can't even remember if I read it or not. They like cut the manga up into arcs in terms of like selling it. So you have like, I think 4 volumes of like the first arc, and then there's like 3 of a Yellow Scarves arc, and then 3 of a Saika arc, and like, I don't know, I saw the anime a long time ago, and I enjoyed the anime, so I got the manga, but then I'm like, I don't know, man, I guess the anime was enough for me. But for some reason, even though it's like pretty old, that is still a series that I feel like keeps popping up when I least expect it. Like, there's definitely still like a very dedicated Durarara fan base out there. But moving on, next is Dogs, Bullets, and Carnage. This was a series that, again, I started reading it for the art style, and I really cannot tell you what it is about because I still don't even know what it's about. I've been thinking about rereading that one just because A, it's been a long time, and B, I do remember liking it despite not really knowing what it was about. I think the 10th volume might be the last volume, at least what I could find, and it like didn't have an ending, if that makes sense. Like, it ended, but it felt like it still should have kept going. I was like it felt like there should have been at least one more volume. And as far as I know, again, I haven't like checked and researched some of this stuff in a long time, but like as far as I know, the person who did this series hasn't done anything else, but I would definitely like read anything else that this person has done, which honestly, as a reminder to myself, I should just go research to see if they have, because like I thought the art style was great. Story kind of did confuse me and I felt like wasn't really wrapped up, but like again, I will read or watch something just for the art style, I don't care. And this brings us to our next Alice in Wonderland spin-off AU thing called Are You Alice? This one has 12 volumes, which I have all 12 too, and this one I think might have been my favorite Alice in Wonderland inspired series that I have, just because the take on it was so different. Alice was actually a guy, and from what I remember, the story is about people being dropped into the Wonderland world who are trying to adopt the identity of Alice and I guess be the right Alice to actually live in the world. And I think it's like he's something like the 79th Alice or like something. Like there's been like several different Alices before him because someone in this world is looking for the right Alice, and like there's another Alice who I think wants to be the right Alice and is trying to like kill him, and I don't know, it was like kind of all over the place and complicated, but I thought the character designs were really interesting. I did really enjoy the way that the story played out, and yeah, I would definitely recommend that one if you are into like Alice in Wonderland spin-offs. Also, like, I feel like I'm kind of rushing through some of these, but I literally like still have so many to go through, so sorry if I'm kind of just like glazing over some of them. But next is Carnival. I have 6 of like the big volumes of this, so I think technically there's like 2 volumes in one of the big volumes, so I think technically I might have 12. I think that's how it works. Carnival was a series that I stopped reading, not because I stopped being interested in it, just because I guess at the time there was a lot more series that were kind of taking precedence over this series, but I mean, I would like to get back to it because, I mean, I've made it this far, I might as well finish it or keep reading it or whatever. I have to see how many volumes there actually are and like how much I actually have to catch up on. Again, really like the art style of this one. The story was okay for me. I liked certain elements of it, and then there were other things that I kind of just like didn't care about. There was an anime for it. I think I watched it. I can't remember because like one day if I do a video on like all the different anime series I've watched, like there's a lot of series that I either like watched in a day and didn't like actually absorb any of the information, or series that I like dropped because back in high school when I had nothing better to do, I would watch like 10 different shows at once, which is like ridiculous, and no wonder I never remember any of the series that I watched. Moving on, we have Devils and Realist, which I have all 15 volumes to. I did actually really enjoy this one, not just the art style but the story as well. And it was funny because I actually was like looking at the art style and I was like, I recognize this from somewhere. And I think I looked it up, and it's like the same person who does the art for Devils and Realists also does it for like Utapri or something, which I never like, I know about and I have seen like certain things of, but I don't actually follow. But Devils and Realist I was a fan of. I never did watch the anime of this one. I might sometime in the future just because I did really enjoy the manga. But basically it's about this kid named William who has to like choose the next king of hell and all of the different demons who are trying to like get him to choose them and stuff. But I would recommend that one if you are into like stories with demons, which honestly like I love stories with demons. I don't know what it is, I just love it. Next up we have Our Dreams at Dusk, which I currently only have 1 volume of, but I want to say there are 4 or maybe 5. It's a short series. It's by Yuki Kamitani, who also did Nabari, which is the reason why I started reading it, because I just like love their art style so much, and I think that they do really well on character development. But yeah, so I plan on finishing that series, especially because it's short. But it's kind of just another like coming of age, coming to terms with who you are as a person type of series. And it actually follows this kid who is gay and trying to kind of figure out how to, you know, accept that and accept himself, and he meets other people who are like him and can like help him through his journey. So overall, so far for the one volume that I've read, I think it's really good so far, so I'm going to finish it, and I recommend it to anyone else who maybe is interested in a story like that. Alright, now we're coming up on a couple of the one-shot series that I have, which I really don't have many one-shot series, but it's called Go For It Nakamura, and it's just about this kid who has a crush on another kid, and he really likes octopi, I think. He has like a pet octopus, and it's just about like him being really awkward and trying to like confess to his crush, and it was really cute, and I really enjoyed it as a one-shot series. The next one-shot series I have is Our Dining Table, which is about this guy who like I think it's like he has a problem eating in front of other people, so he meets this guy who like loves to cook and like kind of overcomes that fear, and it just, again, super wholesome, super cute. But yeah, again, a good one-shot if you want like a really sweet romance story. Next is Bungo Stray Dogs. This has an anime adaptation. I believe it has a couple of seasons. I watched the anime before I read the manga, and I did really enjoy the anime, and I am really enjoying the manga. I only have 4 volumes of it currently, but it's a series that I'm currently in the middle of reading, so I do plan on getting more. Alright, here we have The Case Study of Vanitas, which I currently have 5 volumes of, and I believe is ongoing. It is by the same person who did Pandora Hearts, and because I love their art style so much, I decided, hey, I'm gonna read this one too, and I actually really enjoy this one like more than Pandora Hearts. May or may not be because there's vampires in it, but yeah, it's about like vampires and this guy who I guess is trying to cure people of being vampires, but like they're not like your traditional vampires. Like a lot of them are like possessed by something. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure, but I enjoy it, so clearly that's my only criteria. Alright, this next one I like love so much and have so much to say about it, but like I don't have enough time to really say all the things that I want to say about it in this video, so I'm gonna kind of have to like speed things up here. But it's called Gangsta, and I currently only have 8 volumes of it, and I think there might only currently be 8 volumes of it. From what I've heard, the person who does this series is actually like very sick, and I'm not quite sure what the sickness is called, but I know that it like, I'm pretty sure it's a woman, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the person who does Gangsta is a woman. She's always in the hospital for this disease that she has, which like makes it hard for her to consistently put out the series, but like I don't even care if she released 1 volume every year. Like I love this series so much. I really hope that we do get more volumes. I also have the little spin-off series Gangsta Cursed, which I only have 2 volumes of. I'm pretty sure there are more, but like I said, because of her circumstances, volumes come out less frequently. But the spin-off kind of follows the past of some of the characters in Gangsta. I recommend Gangsta, although I will say it is not for the faint of heart. There are some very violent and like kind of trigger warning-y aspects to it, but I think there is a lot of realism to it in terms of people going through trauma, which I can always appreciate in a story, and especially in a manga where I feel like there are a lot of stories that kind of just focus on like the whimsical or, you know, the humor or the romance. Alright, next up we have Tokyo Ghoul. I have all 14 volumes of this series, and for like a long time Tokyo Ghoul was one of my favorite series, and the only reason why I kind of insinuate that it is no longer one of my favorite series is because of Tokyo Ghoul Ray, which I only have 9 volumes of, but I am going to finish because I'm like, I've come this far, like I have to finish it. But I guess that my problem that became with this series was that like I feel like, especially in Tokyo Ghoul Ray, or at least where I am currently where I'm reading it, like I'm at a point where it's kind of all just one long big fight scene, and like Sui Ishida can draw some like amazing fight scenes. So I do really respect that series for its like action sequences, but I think that you need a balance of action sequences and then like downtime. And I think where I finished in volume 9, we kind of just finished like a major fight, which in my opinion did kind of go on for a little bit too long, but like I said, I am going to finish this series, and I think because I do know how it ends, like I think it is going to be worth it. But yeah, I mean, I love the characters. I love Kaneki. Kaneki Ken did nothing wrong. Like that, I still stand by that. Like he did not deserve what happened to him. Like the poor kid just wanted to go on a date and read a book, and look what happened. Or on High School Host Club. I only have 3 volumes of this, but it is like in my top 3 favorite anime of all time. I have it on DVD. It's like my feel-good show. Like again, really nostalgic. Like that actually, I think after Fruits Basket and Soul Eater was like the next series that I watched, and like I just love it. It's ridiculous. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, like having rewatched the anime several times, like especially in recent years, I don't think that like, let's just say there's a lot of things in it that I don't think would hold up today, especially because like for that series specifically, I will watch the dub because I think it's funnier in the dub. But it's, again, I'm not gonna hold it against it. At the time that it was made, some of the things that they say and do in that show were not an issue. So I mean, as long as we are realizing that, you know, that type of thing should not necessarily be going on today with new things that are coming out, I think it's fine that it happened in the past. But I do intend on getting more, or I should say all of the volumes of the manga. I think there are 17, so I do have a long way to go, but because this is a series of anime that I love so much, I want to finish the manga. Okay, Seraph of the End. This has like I know that this does have a big fan base, but it's like I feel like they're kind of hidden, at least like from what I've seen. Like it's not one that I see like in the forefront all the time, like say something like Demon Slayer or Attack on Titan is. This is another vampire one. I did not actually watch this anime. I don't remember what made me even start reading the manga. I think it's just because I was hearing about it a lot, and then I just happened to get the manga. I actually can't believe I have 9 volumes of this, because like I don't know if it just because it's been a while since I maybe read some of the earlier ones. I like don't even remember how we got to the point where we are now. I am going to continue reading it. I did hear that it does reach a point where it kind of goes in a direction that people weren't happy with, but honestly, I mean, I'll keep reading it as long as I keep enjoying it. So I mean, depending on how many volumes there are, if that thing does happen towards the end, I'll probably just finish it because I am someone who likes to have a completed series. I don't know. I'm kind of like, about the series. It's not really high on my list, but I keep reading it anyway. It's weird. But a series that I just started reading that I actually like am loving so much is The Promised Neverland, which had an anime recently, and I loved the anime. So I was like, hey, why not get the manga? I only have 4 volumes of that currently, and I believe I've only read 2 of them. I need to know what happens like after the point where the anime stops, because I'm like, are we getting a second season? Are we not? Like I need to know what happens. I forgot how like smart this series was and how like good the plot twists are, because like yeah, I saw the anime semi recently, but I'm like, I forgot, I guess, most of how things play out. So as I'm rereading again, I'm like, oh my god, like I'm like surprised all over again. But I love the kids. I love how like intelligent it plays out. Like I'm like, I could never write like anything about like some like very well thought out plan, because I'm like, I don't know, I just don't think like that. Like I read this and I'm just so impressed that like someone like really can think of everything. I'm like, I don't know, I guess like they could run away. Like all the things that they think of, it's just like, oh, it's so good. I definitely recommend that one, because I guess you could consider it a horror. I guess. I mean, there are definitely a lot of horror like elements to it, and the juxtaposition between like the kids and then like all of a sudden like it'll be like all happy and they'll be running around having a good time, then you'll like cut to a panel where it's just like the mom like staring at them with like the death glare, and it's like absolutely terrifying. But yeah, I'm just like very interested to see what happens after the escape, and I really do hope that we do get a second season, because I think that it 100% deserves a second season. This next one is Spy X Family, or Spy Family. I just started reading this. I think I'm only 1 chapter in, and right now, I think translated into English, there is only 1 volume available. But like just from 1 chapter, I like love it so much, and I can't wait to read more. It's like, it's so, like, it's funny in like a weird way that doesn't try too hard, so I think that's why I like it. Basically, it follows this guy who is a spy, and he is assigned to get a family in order to do this mission that he's supposed to go on. So he has to get a wife and a kid in order to like infiltrate whatever it is he's doing. But the twist is that his wife is an assassin and his kid is a telepath. So it's like, it's just a really interesting dynamic. And like I said, I just started reading it and I love it so much. So I'm super excited to see where the story goes. Not to mention, the art style is wonderful. Alright, now these ones I'm going to end off on are actually ones that are not on my shelves that I had to kind of dig out of where I had like shoved them because I just didn't have enough space for them. If I had the space, I would keep them out. I'm not ashamed that I have these series. That's not why they're hidden away. I don't have the shelf space, unfortunately. But again, these were some of the first manga that I ever had, and that would be the 2 volumes of K-On! That I have, as well as the 3 volumes of Lucky Star. I believe I have 3. I felt like I had more than that, but if I can find them, you'll see them in the footage that I'm showing, but it's just whatever I could find. I realized with K-On! And Lucky Star, I just can't read 4-panel manga. I just can't do it. I don't know. There's just something about it that like doesn't hold my interest. And even like a lot of times in between chapters or at the end of a volume of manga, like the artist will just like throw in a 4-panel thing in there, and even that is like, I do read it, but it's like a struggle. And I don't know why. I've just never liked 4-panel manga, which honestly I feel like you don't encounter nowadays, at least from what like I've read. Like maybe there's a 4-panel manga community out there who like knows all the new 4-panel manga. I don't know, but I don't personally enjoy it. It just doesn't pique my interest and doesn't hold my interest. K-On! Lucky Star, 2 very beloved series, which had anime adaptations, which are also very beloved. But again, it's been so long since I have read them or even opened them or looked at them that like I kind of forget most of it. I know K-On! Is about girls starting a band, and Lucky Star is about like girls in high school. I don't know. Shugo Chara, I have all of the volumes of Shugo Chara. That is a magical girl anime, which, I mean, I read it when I was younger, but I definitely feel like that is a series that I would have read when I was like even younger than when I would have read it. Like it's definitely meant for younger kids, but at the time I still enjoyed it. Again, kind of your just like standard magical girl story. I don't really remember a lot about it. I just remember a bunch of kids having these like little fairy things that gave them different abilities. But yeah, I have like all the volumes of that, and I think I also might have like a bonus volume or like a little spin-off thing, which I never finished. Hey guys, Editing Sierra here. I basically found these 4 volumes of Attack on Titan that I totally forgot I even had. Basically, long story short, I got these because I had watched the first 2 seasons of the anime when it came out, and then found that, I don't know, I just wasn't really that into it. So anyway, yeah, moving on. And lastly, to finish it all off, is Bakuman, which I have 10 volumes of. I never finished this series. I didn't drop it intentionally, but I think it reached a point where it just lost my interest. It's actually done by the same person who did Death Note, and there might actually be, well, because I don't know if there was more than one person who worked on Death Note, but why do I think like there's 2 people who, like maybe one did art, one did story for Bakuman, but it's literally, it's a manga about people making a manga, which at first was really interesting, but I don't know, it just kind of dropped off for me. But yeah guys, that is my entire manga collection thus far. I'm always looking for new series to read and discover, so if anyone has any suggestions, please throw them in the comments below, because I always need more things to read, and I can't help myself when it comes to buying new series. Well, now it's out there, you know how much of a massive weeb I am. But I hope you enjoyed this week's video, and guess I'll see you guys next week. Bye!